So this is my studio, these are my paintings, and my two bodily pursuits are the flying trapeze, hurtling momentum, and yoga, which is the balance stability over here. Okay, so the paintings take off from anatomical illustrations, but they could really become about something else. I think that this is much more of a trapeze painting because it's more about hurtling momentum. This painting over here is a lot more about yoga because it has more of a balanced stability, although now that I'm looking at it, I'm not sure how balanced it is, but it's a quieter painting. It started at a Club Med that we were visiting in, I think it was Punta Cana. I think it was about 4 months before I turned 40, and there was a flying trapeze rig there. And I was fascinated by the rig. I sat in front of the rig and watched people take class from 4 to 6 in the afternoon. And the instructors kept trying to get me to go up the ladder. And I said, no, I'm too old for this, I can't do it. One day the instructor was successful and I climbed the ladder, quaking. I was terrified. And then you have to take this big step and grab onto a wire, basically, that's attached to a board and step over the abyss. And then you're standing on the board, and the instructor's holding you from behind. You've got your belt on that's attached to the lines from down below. You grab onto the trapeze, and you're leaning out, you're leaning out, you're leaning out, you're leaning out, and you think, oh, I'm going to fall, I'm going to fall, I'm going to fall. And then you grab your hand with the other bar, and you jump. And that first jump was what did it for me. The trapeze went out like a swing, and the sensation was just, it was so much higher than a regular swing, and it was like flying. And that was it.
Up and down. Yo, hold, squeeze, right up. Hey, hop, out. All right.
Wow.
That was good rhythm there. Yeah, boom, boom, boom.
So the trapeze is a mixed bag. It's completely exhilarating and also completely frustrating because it's a discipline, you're learning new things, and they're really hard. The first thing you learn on a flying trapeze when you're a beginner is the knee hang, and that's just like hanging from the monkey bars, like when you were a kid. And if you get the timing right, and it's the catcher's job to get his timing right, and he always does, so you have to jump off the board at the right time, and then you have to get into your trick at the right time, say it's the knee hang, you have to take your hands off at the right time, you have to lean back and look up at the right time, and if that happens, boom, your hands grab one another. Well, he grabs you, you're just supposed to put your hands out. And off you fly in the catcher's hands. And that, again, feels like flying. I mean, it's just completely exhilarating. And then you come back, and once you learn how to turn around, you try to grab the bar that comes back to you. And the whole point of doing anything on a flying trapeze is to make a round trip, which means that you get back to the board, which I have not done yet.
That was a good push of him, even though the catch was a little bit in.
The catch felt, I don't know what. Was I too close to him?
You were a little close to him.
Okay.
That's...
Did I leave the bar too soon? What?
It's got to do with the break.
The break wasn't full enough?
Your set was pretty high.
Yeah.
So then I have to guess the break a little bit.
Oh.
That's why I keep urging this locked in, parallel, really hard set, because it's very consistent.
Right.
That time your legs rocked up a little bit, like they do sometimes, and I called the break, and I might have called it a little earlier than normal to try to...
Right, okay.
So then you traveled a bit. So... But you got a good push of it. If you had still had your height, it would have been really great.
It would have worked then.
It's all about putting it in.
Yeah. So the hardest thing to learn on the trapeze is the swing, which is basically pumping, and it makes the trapeze go back and forth and as high as possible. You always want to be as high as possible. That took me 2 years to learn, and I'm still working on it. And how to do that, you're open to doing all kinds of back end tricks, which means that you swing out and then you swing back, and on the back swing you get into a position, which is called a trick, and then you swing out again and you do whatever you're doing and you let go and the catcher catches you. Now you're always wearing a belt and your linesman is pulling the line, so there are no bad falls. You can throw yourself around in the air. So the first position that I am getting into is called the layout. So there's the swing out, there's the swing back, and then you have to hold your legs on the bar, and then you swing them back in the sweep as hard as you can. You lift your body up, and it flips you around automatically. And that's one of the hardest tricks to learn, because you have to get the timing exactly right. You have to get every element of what you're doing exactly right. And if you don't, you're going to mess it up. So anyway, I was very happy to catch this 4 times in this particular class that I was taking. So the next trick I'm trying here is something that I'm in the process of learning. It's called the hot salto. It involves coming out of a position very quickly. Boom, boom, boom. You have to do 3 things. Actually, you have to do 4 things in a row very quickly. I can only get up to 3 things right now. I can't open. But you're doing a flip in the air, like that. And then you're supposed to open like this to grab the hands of the catcher, and I just haven't gotten to that part yet. Because things are going too fast for me, and if I can actually grab my knees and get the flip going, then I'm very happy.
Oh, speed, stride up, leg, head, top, out. Oh, that was powerful.
Okay.
Yeah, the knees didn't come up as quickly as you wanted, but your hands did, and that's what we're working on.
Okay.
So that's good.
How'd that one feel?
I felt like I could have brought my knees in further. And I never come out of it fast enough, so my legs are always facing the wrong direction. They're supposed to face behind me, but they go in front of me instead. Okay, so this last trick is a halftime trick, which means that you jump off the board, you get into your trick, you get into your position, whatever it is, immediately, and then you swing out like that, and you let go of the trapeze bar at the top of the swing. So what I'm doing here is called a shooting star, and it kind of looks like one. It's done very quickly. You jump off, you sort of hold your feet up for a second or two, you swing back as hard as you can, and you get as high as you can, and at the height, you separate your legs into a straddle, and you pitch forward and you let go of the bar. And there you are, shooting off into space, flying. I think that if I didn't do the yoga, I wouldn't be able to do the flying trapeze because it keeps me in shape. It keeps me pliant. My ligaments are pretty tight, but I would not be able to get into some of these trapeze poses were it not for the yoga. So I think that the paintings are really about the body's energetic sheath. There's a term known as the subtle body in yoga, which is really about the material body's making a graceful mark in space. And I think that this is what these paintings do. Right, Renee? My studio assistant.
Oh, speed, stride up, leg, head, top, out. Oh.
All right, and so now it's a little Q&A time about the nitty-gritty of flying, which I am totally dying to do, although I'm a little concerned, and I've never said this before, I'm too old for it, but one of the things that I wondered was when you actually flop down, whether face first or butt first, on that huge airbag. Is there any kind of impact that leads to a sense of being jarred or any whiplashy kind of effect?
Not when you, no. When you land on your stomach, you're landing on your stomach because you don't yet know how to turn to your back. You're always supposed to land on your back when you land in the net in trapeze. Now, we don't have a net at Strab, which is where I fly, because the ceilings aren't high enough to accommodate a net, so we have that airbag. And yeah, I mean, you can really fall into that airbag the wrong way if you're not in lines and you're not careful. The part that actually sometimes is jarring to the body is all of us in the class are flying out of lines for our swing because we all know how to land in the airbag the right way, so we're allowed to fly out of lines. But sometimes when you land, if you're not looking up at the ceiling and your head isn't landing at the same time, you can get a little bit of whiplash with your neck. And that would not happen in a net the same way.
Oh, okay.
So the airbag is not great for that. And let me say one thing about age and flying. Anybody of any age, I would say up until the age of 85, can try it. You don't have to be in great shape. You just have to be, you want to take a risk because you're climbing that high ladder. If you're afraid of heights, it's great for getting over that. Yes, it is terrifying the first time you go up. I think that's probably the case for almost everybody. And it's kind of terrifying when you jump off the board for the first time. You don't have to be super fit. You will find 2 days after you've tried it that your muscles hurt in certain places that, you know, they've never hurt before. But, you know, I would encourage anyone that wants to try it to give it a go.
So the shoulders, because that's something I know from just doing the rings on the beach in Santa Monica. So what about shoulder strength and shoulder strain? You do certain things, I gather, to keep yourself in shape for that? I mean, can that be an issue the first times you're out there?
What you have to make sure to do on the trapeze as far as your shoulders go is you don't want to be like this with your shoulder blades way up in the air. You want to be like this. You want your shoulder blades to be going down your back, and your arms are straight. They're not bent. Mine are a little bent here. But what you don't want is this. If you're doing this, then you're going to hurt yourself.
Right.
This is the right position.
So that's a classic correction from yoga, actually.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
So a little yoga can't hurt before you start
yoga
off.
Can't hurt, but you know, you don't need the first time you go up, you know, to be in fantastic shape.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna do it. It's on my bucket list.
All right. Well, I'm signing you up.
Thanks, Joni.
Well, thank you.
Forward. You can think about pushing till your hands touch your hips. All the way to here. Now when you went from here to here and let go, you're going to press a little more to